everyone, namaste. I'm Nikita and I know I'm back after a really long break. But today's tutorial is very short and we'll be pouring paints in our palette. Yes, I got a new palette and people keep asking me how are we supposed to decide the correct order of the colors in the palette. So what I'll do is I'll take you through the entire process, the color theory part, everything, like why we are supposed to pour the paints in a particular order. Why can't you just randomly pour the paints in the palette? So let's go ahead with it. So this is my new palette and it has around 18 wells. Yes, I think it has 18 wells, and I have selected, by the way, I have the entire range of acetone colors, which is like around 30 or 40, more than 40 colors. So I have selected my most used colors, the colors that I need the most, and I'll be taking this palette for urban sketching meets. So I have selected all the colors that I usually use, the most needed colors, and these are 18 of those colors, and these are in no particular order right now. Okay, so everything is mixed. First you need to decide the right order of the colors. Okay, now we always start from the lightest color and end with the darkest color. So the lightest color, you can see it's going to be amongst the yellows only. So you can say that the lemon yellow is always the lightest yellow, the coolest yellow. So we have 4 kinds of yellows over here. So you'll see that the lightest yellow amongst these 4 is going to be the lemon yellow. If you're confused, what you can do is you can swatch it on a paper. Let's say that you're confused between Hansa yellow and lemon yellow. So you can take a paper and quickly swatch them side by side to decide which one is lighter, which one is darker. Swatch it with water and clean the brush and swatch the other yellow. So you can see that the lemon yellow is much lighter. This one has an orangish tint. This one is warmer, this one is cooler. I'm not going into warm and cool too much right now because that needs another tutorial altogether. It needs the concept about the color theory and color temperature. So right now you just need to see the light and dark. Okay, so this is lighter, this is darker. So we'll start with the lemon yellow, and the darkest color that I have here is, I think, the Payne's grey, which is almost like a black if used in very thick consistency. So this is the darkest, this is the lightest. So we'll start with the lightest color from here, either here or here, and then end with the darkest color here. Okay, so this is the rule. Now let me keep this on the side. Now let's decide amongst the yellows what order you're supposed to follow. So let's say that you have your lemon yellow here for this well, and then you have your Hansa yellow, Indian yellow, yellow ochre. Now you can follow the same rule over here as well. You can swatch the Indian yellow as well and see. You can already see that this one is too much on the orange side, so it's going to come after Hansa yellow. And then you have yellow ochre, which is like a slightly brownish muddy yellow, so you can keep it further away from the lighter yellows. So this is like a mustard, right? So you can swatch all your colors beforehand to decide the order, like which is lighter, which is darker. Okay, so this is like a mustard, so you can keep it further away from the lighter yellows. So what we'll do here is, I'll start pouring the paints. This is the lemon yellow, Hansa yellow, and then we have the Indian yellow, which is like a slightly orangish yellow. Then you have yellow ochre, my most used color, be it portraits or urban sketches. Then you know that this yellow is slightly muddy, it is on the brown side. So how to decide what family of color is going to come after this? So you can have your browns starting from this point, starting with yellows and then orange and then the muddy yellow, the yellow ochre, and then you can have your browns starting from this well. So amongst the browns I have burnt sienna and brown oxide, and I think this one also Okay, let's keep it in the red category. So these two browns I have with me. So maybe we can start from the one that is closer to yellow ochre. So I've swatched all these colors on the paper as well, because you get to know the real color on the paper, not on the palette. Okay, so amongst the browns, what we can do is we can swatch both the browns next to the yellow ochre, and we can see which one is closer to this yellow. Okay, so you can see that the burnt sienna is closer to the yellow ochre. In fact, the burnt sienna is even closer to the Indian yellow, so you can even exchange, like flip these two, keep the yellow ochre here and the Indian yellow here. So there is no hard and fast rule according to this. You just have to see that you're pouring down the same family of colors together. Okay, it's not like suddenly after yellow you have a blue. The reasoning, I'll come to it later, but you have to make sure that the family is same, like yellows and then browns, reds, all of that. Okay, so now we'll pour in the burnt sienna after the yellow ochre, brown oxide. Okay, after the browns you can go towards the reds. Okay, let me quickly swatch these two over here as well. After the browns you can move towards the reds. So I have around 3 or 4 reds over here. So again, what you can do is you can swatch all 4 of them and see which one is closest to the brown. Okay, so I'll quickly swatch it on the rough sheet and compare it with the brown. Okay, so this is crimson, this is quinacridone magenta, this is Venetian red, and this is spiral red. So you can see this one is closest to the brown. So there's this is very clear that you can pour the Venetian red next to your brown oxide. You can see these two are more on the pink side, these two are more on the magenta side. This one is like a proper red. Let's say that you don't have Venetian red, so you can directly go ahead with this warm red, which is like a proper red that you use. Okay, so these are the pinks actually. These are not reds. This is the proper red. So this one is spiral red. Then you can use crimson, because crimson is not that much leaning towards the violet or the magenta side. So here we have crimson. Okay, now slowly we are moving to the magenta. So this one is quinacridone magenta. So what color family we're going to have after the reds, there is no doubt about it. Since we have a magenta over here, we are slowly progressing towards the violets. So we can take our violet colors now. So let's say that you have just one violet color or you have 3 violet colors, so you can decide which one is the lighter one. This is ultramarine red pink, and this one is deox violet. So here I'm going to pour the lighter one, the ultramarine red, right next to the quin magenta. Okay, so this is ultramarine red and now this is deox violet. Okay, let's swatch all these colors on the swatch card as well. Yeah, so now after looking at the swatches, you can clearly tell that we are slowly progressing from the warm colors to the cool colors. In fact, at this point we'll start adding the cool colors, which is the blues and the greens. Okay, after violet we'll add the blues, because green is going to be very different from the violet. The blues are going to be similar to the violet. Okay, so this way we have to find similar color families. We have to arrange them in light to dark order, and then we have to pour them together. So it looks as if it's a gradient. We're starting from warm colors and then it's becoming a gradient. It's getting cooler, cooler, cooler. Okay, so here I have my 2 blues, which is one is French ultramarine and the other one is phthalo blue. The phthalo blue is like an aqua blue and ultramarine blue is like a slightly violetish blue. I'll show you a swatch as well, and then you can compare both the blues with the violet that we already have. Okay, so here you can see this one is a reddish blue, this one is more leaning towards the violet, this one is more far away from the violet, which is like an aqua blue, more on the greener side. So what we'll do is, this one is ultramarine blue, the violet one is ultramarine blue, this one is phthalo blue. So after the Diox violet, I'll pour in French ultramarine. Again, another most used color. And then phthalo blue. So these are the only two blues that I'll pour in this palette. You can even take Prussian blue instead of phthalo blue. Most of the palettes, like your 24 set, 12 set paint, the paint set that you buy, it's going to have Prussian blue as well. So you can take Prussian blue after the ultramarine blue. Now you have to decide if you want the greens after the blues or you want to add the Payne's grey. So I think I'll add the Payne's grey because Payne's grey is like a slightly bluish grey. So let's add the Payne's grey. Let's not keep it for the last well. Payne's grey after the blue. Let's see the swatch for the same. Alright, so this is ultramarine blue, this is phthalo blue, and this is Payne's grey. You can even use indigo instead of Payne's grey. If you have black, you can even use black. Now we'll take the greens. So I have 3 greens. Now amongst these greens, one is phthalo green, one is sap green, and then one is shadow green. So the shadow green is the most dull green that we have. So it's going to be, ideally, it's going to be the best decision to add the shadow green right after the Payne's grey, because it's a very dull green. So what I'll do here is I'll take the shadow green. Then we have sap green and phthalo green. So maybe the sap green after the, or let's keep the phthalo green after this. Sap green is a very yellowish green, so I'm not adding it right next to the dull green that we have, the shadow green that we have. So the reason behind this is that when you are picking up paints from your palette, you are using a brush, right? Like this, you dip the brush in your well, you're mixing the paint, and by mistake some paint touches to the edge over here, or a little bit like the tip of your brush goes into the adjacent color, right? Sometimes this happens when we're quickly painting, when we're just sketching, and some paint flows into the side wells as well, no matter how careful you are. So in that case, the color family helps in this case. So let's say that you have your red over here, you have your orange, red, yellow right next to the blue. What is going to happen to that blue? That blue is going to become very, very dull. If try mixing orange with your blue, or try mixing yellow would make it green. It will completely change the blue. But now I have the same family member of this blue, which is a violet. Okay, so it's very similar. Even if a little bit of violet goes into this blue, it's not going to change it too much. It's just going to change a little tint of that color. It's not going to change too much. Even if this blue, this phthalo blue comes into this one, nothing major is going to change with your ultramarine blue. But if yellow goes into it, or let's say red goes into it, it's going to change completely. The color is going to be very, very different. So that is the reason why we keep similar color families together in a color palette, so that when the colors mingle together, when you're picking up paint, when you're mixing, at that time the colors don't change way too much due to the mingling happening between two adjacent colors. Okay, so this is the reason why you can't just randomly pour your paints anywhere you like, why it's important to know the color families while setting up your paint palette. So this is our sap green. Okay, shadow green, phthalo green, and sap green. Now let's say that your palette is circular, it's both the ends are connected, so you can have your lime green after sap green. You can take oxide, your chrome green, your lime green next to the lemon yellow, and then you can connect the colors this way. That's only when your cool and warm colors need to be connected because of a circular palette, but usually the palette ends are separate, so you can keep your warm colors on one side and the cool colors on the other side. So we start from the yellows. the orange, browns, reds, violets, blues, and then finally to the greens. Now here you could have kept the Payne's grey in the end also. You could have started the greens right after the blue as well. There is no hard and fast rule about it. It's just that the color family that you think is similar to the adjacent color, you can add the colors that in that order only. Okay, I hope this tutorial was helpful. I hope you could understand the reasoning behind why we can't just randomly pour our paints in no particular order. So let's say that I want to dilute this lemon yellow over here, and by mistake I go into this yellow, the adjacent color, or there is some splatter of this yellow lying over here, and these two yellows mix a little. Nothing major is going to happen. But what if the red goes into this yellow, or the pink goes into this yellow? It's going to, even a slight splatter of that very different color family, like violet, red, blue, it's going to change the yellow completely. Okay, now you can't even say that it's lemon yellow. Earlier, this yellow being added to the lemon yellow still looked closer to the lemon yellow, but now it looks like Indian yellow because we added red to it. Now let's say that by mistake your violet goes into it, because the colors are adjacent, yellow and violet are adjacent. See how a little bit of a tiny dot of violet is changing your colors so much. So to keep your mixes neat, to keep your mixes fresh, we have to go in a particular order while setting up our palette. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any more questions, you can comment below. Thank you. Bye.